Hello everyone. Welcome to this exciting UnsaidTalks live session. Today, UnsaidTalks has got something really special for you all. First, I'll introduce UnsaidTalks to you all. We at UnsaidTalks are here to bridge the gap between the engineering students and the seniors who've already gone through the placement journey. We organize various interview and mentorship programs to help the engineering students with their career by giving them the right guidance. Today we are here with Gunjeev Singh. Welcome, Gunjeev, who's about to take us all on his journey. And I can definitely bet you that you're all going to be super inspired and motivated, and definitely learn something by the end of this session. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'll start with a brief introduction of yours. Gunjeev Singh is a 2024 pass out who has done his engineering at Thapar Institute of Technology, Patiala. He has currently been offered an FTE at LinkedIn and is also interned at JPNC.
Okay, so now let's more know about the Gunjeev Singh's journey. So Gunjeev Singh, can you please introduce yourself to the viewers?
Yeah, so hi, my name is Gunjeev. I am a fourth year engineering student at Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology in Patiala. And I am pursuing my bachelor's in computer engineering. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I have got a FT offer from LinkedIn. I did my summer internship there. And I also have an academic internship offer from JP Morgan Chase, which I'll be joining in the next week.
Okay, can you tell more about your hobbies?
Okay. Uh, so that's very hard to pinpoint, but it would come down to probably watching a lot of sports. I'm a cricket fan, F1, football. I'm a United fan. And apart from that, it's mostly just chilling, hanging around with friends. That's about it. Not a very keen singing, dancing person, but yeah.
Okay, that's great. Also, did you secure your placement at LinkedIn on campus or off campus?
So LinkedIn does not go to campuses apparently. So what they do is they do an hiring program wherein they send out emails that they'll be conducting like a test, etc. And they do it all over India at once. So it's off campus that way. So yeah, like but that the information that a test is about to happen, I got on my college email. So I don't know what you would want to call that, but yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. Securing an off-campus placement amidst recession is great, really great. Okay, so today we will get to know more very important things from Gunjeev. That is how he secured the internship at JPMC, how he bagged an off-campus placement at LinkedIn.
We'll start with the very. We'll initially start with knowing about and talking about your FTE at LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Would you want to tell everyone how you got the FTE offer?
Yeah, as some of my friends are spamming in the comments, it pretty much sums it up. No, actually, so LinkedIn does not hire FTEs directly from college. What they do instead is they hire interns who do their summer internship after their third year with LinkedIn. And if they like your performance, you get like a call back. And so essentially you join as a full-time engineer then. So what happened was I got the notification for like LinkedIn's internship hiring program in around October, actually August of 2022. So that was in my fifth semester essentially. And so after I filled out the form, everyone who filled out the form got a test link, and there was a 3 hour test. And generic average company test type test. So you had like three coding questions, you had some MCQs, you even had a subjective question, by the way. So there's there's that, and then after that I got selected through the test. I was shortlisted, so there were interview rounds. There were like three interview rounds, and after that, yeah, like luckily enough, like luck is a very, very important factor here. So that really helped me. And I got this internship. So I did this internship essentially after my sixth sem ended. So like between my third and fourth year in the summer vacations, that's when this internship happened. So that was June, July, August 2023. And then after that internship, I got a pre-placement offer.
Thing. Getting a placement after being a summer intern, that is commendable, truly commendable. How would you describe your experience as a summer intern there?
Oh, it was like beyond phenomenal. I really, really loved what the work we did. More importantly, I was like what I really enjoyed was like what software development at its core and at scale is. So I understood how things work, how you build systems that sustain like 1 billion users. So that was what I enjoyed learning the most. And also there was this like essentially this confirmation in my head that okay, I this is what I like to do and this is what I would like to do in the future as well. So I think that really got fixed for me. My confusion sorted out as to if a tech job is what I essentially want, and like the answer was yes because like the experience I had, I really loved it.
Mhm. Right. I totally understand that. Shall we start with some very basic questions that I'm sure the audience would love to ask
What are they?
relating to your internship and the procedure that you went through?
Sure.
Okay, so you've already explained to us in brief what the whole procedure of getting interned at LinkedIn was like. We'll start with was there any CGPA cutoff during the selection criteria? You've already mentioned that you got an email regarding the
Uh,
tests, and did everyone get shortlisted, or was it there was a CG cut?
Correct. So uh, there wasn't any upfront CG criteria as such. So whoever filled the form got the test link. So there was no shortlisting before the test as such. So it was all like the test was the starting point for everyone, regardless of your CG. But I don't, I like officially no criteria, unofficially maybe, not sure. Could have been, not
Okay.
denying that, but
Also,
not that they
one
disclaimed it. Yeah, sorry.
one question to you. Do you think it's important to have a well CV before you apply for an internship in your third year specifically?
Important to have what?
A good CV,
Oh,
a good resume in your third year when you're preparing for internship in your third year.
I mean, yeah, obviously, like you have to have. So essentially, what at the core, the most important thing is to know what you're getting into and know your stuff. So for example, if I like to do, let's say, just an example, if someone likes to, is if someone like builds React projects, so they should know how to do that. Like you should be good at it essentially, and your CV should be something which, if I give it a read, it should reflect that okay, this person knows what they're building, what they're doing. So it's not necessary to have like a plethora of things on your CV. It's not necessary to like like app development, machine learning, backend development. Like all of that is not essentially important. But what is important at its core is that what you know well, and that's about it.
Okay. So how was your experience with the online assessment slash the coding round that you mentioned?
Oh, it it was actually quite comprehensive in the sense that the multiple choice questions and all of those things were of varying topics, and they touched upon a lot of things. The role was a site reliability engineer, so there were Linux questions also, and things touched upon there. The subjective question was uh, like it was something which was really good. So a subjective question in an online test is a very rare find. You hardly see that amongst company tests, but it was a very intricate questions. So essentially, the test difficulty wasn't like I wouldn't say it was like a very difficult test essentially, but the important part of the test was it was like it checked how comprehensively you know your subjects. So the difficulty wasn't like the width of the test wasn't a lot, but the depth was. So essentially, so if a limited set of topics were asked, but like in good depth.
So,
Okay.
so Gunjeet, there is one question from the viewer. That's how important are subjects like humanities for engineers and professional communication?
Um, it in fact is actually very important, like unironically. Like not what they teach in college. I don't know about that, but like how well you communicate and like how well you're able to express what you actually feel is like a core skill. If you know like 20 things but you are not able to tell your interviewer that you know them, is that basically means you don't have those skills, right? The goal is to like make out and out through what you know. So if I'm interviewing you, when you talk to me, I should know that okay, this person clearly knows what they're talking about. That confidence, and that's an important skill to have, unironically.
Okay.
And also, yeah,
And
like
there is one.
Also, there's
I saw
another
some
question
message.
in.
So sorry, continue.
Mm,
I was saying I saw some message, and
No, you may complete your sentence.
I was saying I saw some message, but ChatGPT wasn't like launched when I gave the test. It's fine.
okay. Okay, there is one more
There is
question.
another question comment.
Yeah.
Uh,
Go ahead. You may ask question.
okay. So, what are some catch points or emphasized topics on which we should focus while preparing a resume?
While preparing a resume, um, it should be readable. That is number one. Like it shouldn't be haphazard. So organizing what you're writing is very important, more than the content. If I look at it, I should understand. That's like prime. Apart from that, like you should list like a couple of projects that you've built. They shouldn't be GitHub ripped. They should be proper projects. And then it should have your experiences if you've had any. If not, like even volunteer experiences benefit. So like societies, clubs, all of that, you can write that out. And also, I like one thing I would like to like give out as advice is don't like go up to like your 10th grade marks on your resume. Like it's not required. Like your current education is more than important. So that's about it.
Uh, okay, we'll move on with the general questions until we have another question in the comments. How would you rate and describe each round of the interview? You mentioned that there were 3 rounds.
Correct.
How would you rate and describe those rounds?
Okay, so like the 3 rounds. So the first round was around like so the topic. So we were given like information beforehand what the round would be about. So round one was about in general, like all computer core subjects, all of your understanding of computer science essentially. Round two was about system design, high level system design, and round three was the engineering
Nice.
manager round. So that's that's essentially it. So, um, for me, the first round I found the most difficult one. So, like subjects like operating systems, which I thought I knew well enough. I didn't. And I realized that after the interview. So there were like a couple of questions asked which like really baffled me. Like I've never thought of topics in that sense. So there was that. So the difficulty was essentially in a way that the subjects that are being taught in college, like your computer networks, operating systems, oops, like these three subjects essentially were the core foundation of the interview. But what is more important is that they were asked in like quite some detail. So you should have your conceptual clarity on point. You should not be memorizing stuff just for, you know, like that works in some cases with like a superficial oops level interview. But if you like have like some conceptual operating system questions, you'll not be able to clear them. So like having a good understanding of the subject is important.
Right.
And yeah, and then round two was fairly difficult. So for me it was easier. Like I felt it was easier, but some people would have a differing opinion. But so essentially, round two, what was happened was I was given a task. So I was given a task to design a system, and I was asked to design that at scale. So essentially, think of the question being like, you have a project, you need to build it, what would you use? And I gave my answer, and then it was like, okay, but this project is only for like 30 people in your class. Then it went to like 300 people in your batch, then like 1,000 people in your college, going on to your city, your country, and then the entire world. So it was essentially how well you give your answer so that you're able to scale that up, and then how you scale your systems up. So that it was like there was no right or wrong answer in those questions, but so every question, every answer is the right approach, right? You can like, I can build a very rudimentary application and put like 1,000 servers, and my application will be able to hold the load. But how? So that's not wrong either. But like, what's the most optimal is what the interview was about. The third one was an engineer managerial round, so it wasn't technically an HR round interview. It was more about why, like what I do, like what coding I've done, what projects I've built, why I built those, what am I interested in, things like that.
Okay, that is great. You mentioned that the first round of interview you found the most difficult among all. I'd like to ask, like, what do you think is the key to getting through the first interview round? Because I think the first interview round, you really need a breakthrough during the first interview round. Many people, they fail, they're not able to clear the first interview round itself.
I mean, it's like very broadly different for different companies, but at least for LinkedIn, the first round was purely theoretical about computer science. So it's like if you know your subjects, you'll clear the test. Essentially, that's about it. So you know your core four. So they'll ask databases, they'll ask computer networks, they'll ask OOPS, and they'll ask operating systems. So these four subjects you should know. And if you're prepared enough, you'll be able to clear that round. It's not like, so at that point it was pretty fair. So after you do that, it's good. But then in the second round, it was like second round, someone who has no idea of how applications are built, but has studied system design might stuck. But like if someone has actually built something even at a very like smaller level, they could do that.
Okay. Do you think it's only the knowledge of the person and the amount of skills that the person knows about? Do you think only that matters, or is a successful interview also dependent largely upon the interviewer who's interviewing you? Do you think
Oh,
the
like
interviewer, the
your
type of
skills.
person who's interviewing you, also?
I mean, your skills matter, but that's
Sorry?
like your skills do matter, but nothing works if your luck doesn't play well that day. So an interview, after all, is like one person judging how well you know something, right? So it can never become very objective. So it's possible that you answered like most of your questions correctly, but the interviewer felt that it wasn't really on point because of how you conveyed your answers. So like luck is like a very important factor. You can't deny that. So uh, that's
Right.
that's
Uh,
yeah, like you can't deny that.
Agreed. Also, there's one question in the comments. I can see it. How many hours of study shall we do in chief? Also, please share your daily routine.
I didn't
I
have a
mean, we
daily
can just
routine.
focus on what was your plan during the journey? How did you prepare? What was the overall plan that you had?
I can share my daily routine, but I am not advising anyone to follow up on it. It's uh, it's not your most optimal ideal daily routine. So you don't really, it's college, right? You're not preparing for JE or something. You don't need to study 8 hours a day. You need to be interested
Right.
in what you're doing, and that will be enough to like lead you forward.
Anusha, do you have any questions?
So, Gunji, what website did you use for the coding for the practice?
Oh, none, honestly. So now again, not something that I recommend. So DSA is very, very important for all your uh, coding interviews and coding rounds. But I am like not the most proficient at data structures. I am not someone who has practiced it a lot. Like if you go and check my lead code profile, you'll be shocked or surprised. I don't know what I want to say. So it's like the point is solving questions is one part of it. Um, how do you solve questions is the second part. So like solving like what 50 questions correctly is like way better than solving 500 questions and just like copying solutions. So any website is like enough. And then for LinkedIn specifically, like the interviews that I've given, it was a role that I really wanted because it didn't involve any DSA, it didn't involve data structures as any part, and so I really really wanted this because मतलब ये ना होता तो फिर मैं फंस जाता because data structures is not something that I do. So um, for LinkedIn, even the test had like a couple of DSA questions, but they were very fundamental in the sense that if you know, like if you've studied data structures well, you can get it, even if you don't have like 200 questions practiced on lead code. But that's not the case for like most SDE profiles. So SDE profiles usually have like good DSA, and even in their interviews they ask DSA. So like mastering it like requires practice and like it requires consistent effort is what I've heard. So I'm passing out advice that I've heard and I've seen people follow it and succeed. I have not followed it myself, so I'm not taking credit for it. But DSA is something that you should do regularly, is what I know. And then, like doing a question, essentially, your end goal is not to know how to solve the question, it is to build that aptitude so that when you tackle a new question, you can understand how I should go about solving this. Because very rarely will you find that in a good company's test, you'll see a question that has come directly from like lead code. So ideally what I want to learn is the skill कि मेरे सामने बिल्कुल new question आ गया तो इसको मैं कैसे solve करूंगा जो मैंने पहले नहीं किया हुआ. So that will happen even if you do like a comprehensive like 2 questions per topic, but understanding how that data structure works or how that algorithm works, that is also more than enough if you do it correctly. अगर solution देख देख के लिखते रहेंगे तो फिर तो like 500 क्वेश्चन भी कर दो, it won't really help.
Right, I'm sure many people did. Even I don't personally like DSA at all.
I mean, it's like even if you don't, you should.
Um,
That's what I advise.
right, of course, you don't have a choice there. Um, okay, there's another question. Please put some light on hackathons and how your experience has been in them.
They are pretty important. You get to learn a lot in your 24 hours, and you also get to build projects. So I have participated in quite a few. I've organized some as well. So the best part is working with like whatever your team, and then like coming up with a solution overnight. And even better is that you don't know how to build that. So even if you have an idea as to how like you can solve like this problem, what you need to build, how you need to build it is what you need to learn. And learning that like the biggest force is that you need to submit your project in the next 24 hours. So that's the biggest push. So like when you're
Right.
in that environment, when everyone is building and like everyone is collaborating, you can like really, if you use that wisely, you can learn a lot. And like in my first year, especially, like I took part in some hackathons, and that was like a pushing force to learn, like learn all of these development tools. And like once I got into it, it like started interesting me, and then like I just like got into it. So hackathons were like an initial push, and like I would really like highly recommend everyone to like take part.
Um, yeah, questions, Anusha, in the comments?
No, we don't. Okay, we can start with
Okay.
the internship at JPNC. So, can you tell us more about your?
I just have one question before we
Mhm.
start with you. Since you've already did a summer intern at LinkedIn, you have a pretty good experience about the company culture. Is there anything exciting that you would like to share with the audience? You know it from its internal perspective now.
For like specific to LinkedIn.
No, just company culture. Usually engineering students do not know about, but you think it's essential for them.
Can you please repeat your
Anything.
voice lag?
I'm sorry. Now that you've already had an experience working in a company, is there anything exciting that you want to share with the audience, which
Oh,
mostly they do not know about?
oh yeah. So as I mentioned, for me it was two things actually. Firstly, a very simple doubt. Like it might sound very dumb, but on the foreface, I what I thought was that okay, LinkedIn is an application, like everyone has it on their phones. Why do you need 20,000 engineers to keep it running now that it's already built? So getting into the organization and understanding that requirement and like the requirement why 20,000 engineers are required to keep a single application up is was like the biggest mind blow point. Then, so correlated to this is the scale that things work upon. So when like you have 1 billion users, how your servers are placed across the world and how things just work, how even a small feature when it's being built, so many things are put into consideration. Like, and so many systems are built around it so that that one small feature can be added to the application is like what I learned. Like that's the point that really, in, that's the point that really like interested me and like that's what was very very exciting for me. And yeah, like fan companies have their own perks. You get like good food at office, so there's that.
That is amazing. Okay, now we can start with your experience during the internship procedure at JPMC. Anusha, you may continue.
Okay, you can tell us about your internship, and I guess it hasn't started yet. When will it start?
Okay, so that was through my campus program. So essentially, I'd come back from my summer intern, and the college placements were on. And so my internship was 3 months long. So I had missed like 4 weeks of college. So by the time I had come, some companies had already come and go, and all the recession and everything, the panic everywhere was a bit too much, and I was like suddenly met with that. Like I was in my own bubble, and then suddenly met with all of that. So at that point, it was like uh, you should have something in hand and just apply. So, but like you've done a good internship, so you don't also want to go about applying to like random companies at that point also. So that was also there. Plus, another thing is that I already knew that even if I get even if by that time I hadn't gotten a pre-placement offer, so that came little late. So what I knew was that if I had gotten it, for example, so that would that would mean that I would still require a 6 month internship for my college academia. So JPMC with their risk profile was one that offered a 6 month internship and a PPO rather than a full time offer. So I thought like, okay, this sounds pretty well, like it pays well. It's a good company. It can be a great experience in a totally different field. And then on the other hand, it was an internship and not a full time offer. So that was essentially what I needed also at that time. So so that's why I went for it, and then just applied through college. There was a test that I had given. It was like an aptitude test, a general aptitude MCQ questions on the test. So there were like some 45 questions in like 45 minutes, 50 questions in 45 minutes, something like that. So I don't exactly remember, but that was about it. So the questions weren't tough, essentially. And college exams, when they're online, like you have your 5 friends giving them with you together. So, I mean, it's not really that tough at that point. But the only criteria was that once you have like so many people giving the test, so in our college also, so it's like you you have 1,000 people giving the test. So even one question getting wrong is where things turn, like, take a wrong turn. So luckily enough, like totally luck based, gave the test, probably got the questions right, and saw my name come up for the interview. So that was like the test and how the procedure started. And then there were 2 interviews followed by an HR round. And there was shortlisting after every round of interviews. So that was the process essentially.
Okay, can you elaborate about the HR round?
The HR round was like a 5-minute formality essentially. They wanted to know if we're comfortable working at like
Mm-hmm.
Mumbai and Bangalore. That was the 2 location options. They
Mm-hmm.
asked why we've applied for this job, like one of those stereotypical HR questions. And then they just cut the call. So it was like the last round was just like a 5-minute formality. Everyone who gave that round was selected also. So the actual elimination happened in the first 2 rounds only.
Okay. And as compared to LinkedIn, was it easier or difficult one?
Oh, again, the answer could be different for someone else, but I think to me it felt like very easy, way easier. So given how it's like a risk profile, it's not essentially a coding coding role, right? So you need computer science, but you don't need to build like software. So it's not a software development interview that you're being asked. So what they check is how good you are at solving problems at hand, and that makes it easier because you don't need to study and learn subjects. So there's no prep that you need to do. It's about how you tackle problems in general and how well you're able to convince the interviewer that you're good at it. So that was what the interview was about.
Okay, great. Shreya, you may ask if you have any questions.
Just a very general question. Could you elaborate on the interview round at JPMC?
Yeah, so as I said, it was a very generic interview. Uh, you know, um, so what was happening was there were 4 vice presidents at JP Morgan Chase. So those vice presidents were taking the interviews. So you had like 4 of them, and then there were around 20-25 people shortlisted for the first round of interviews after the test. So you have like 6 or 7 people interviewing to the same vice president, and then they shortlisted you. And then for the second round, you were given a different vice president. So like essentially 2 different people interviewed me, and then like 5 people were selected. So interviews were very generic. They asked me what I did. They asked me about the things on my resume, about my past experiences. Um, so one of the rounds, in fact, was interesting. So, like for example, just an example, okay. So on my resume, I had written Django and Flask as skills, and they were used in 2 different projects. So my interviewer, being from a technical background, asked me which one I would prefer and which is better. So now you can actually say any of the two and justify your answer with some points, right? So because no one answer is correct, the answer is that the problem that you are given, you analyze that problem and then you think, okay, for this problem, should I use this or this? And that's what I said. So that was one answer that she really, really liked. And, she pointed it out that you've answered it the way she wanted. So it was essentially, they were not really looking at how well I knew Django or Flask, for example. What they were looking at was, if I've written them on my resume, do I even know what they are? And like, have I actually used them? and how well my general technical aptitude is.
Right. Um, do we have any other questions in the comments?
Yes, one question is, what kind of work we do as a STE? Are DSS skills used there?
Um, yes, and no also. So essentially, what you would think as DSA skills being used, you are not really expected to, find the fastest way of how a tree is traveled. For example, what is required sometimes is algorithmic practice and selection of what data structure you would want to use. So if you're building a software and you're getting inputs from the users, how would you want to store them? You want to store them in a queue, you want to store them in a table, like, things like that. So it's fundamental knowledge. Your fundamentals need to be very, very clear. And if there's that, then it's pretty good. And what works? So if you would imagine you're actually building something and then you're just like, pushing the code and it's going live on production, that's not how things work. So at large scale organizations, when code is built, you're probably building a small part of like a very, very big thing. So it's like, think of it as a truck, a very, very gigantic truck that's like running on thousands of wheels because it's so long, right? And you're just one axle of one wheel which is spinning. If that stops, the truck would get slower, essentially, yes. So you're required there, you're very important, but you're not the only one who's moving the truck forward also.
Right, that's interesting. Okay, there's one more question. You already mentioned that LinkedIn was an off-campus offer to you. What tips do you have for the third and the fourth year students who are struggling to get job in the time of recession?
Um, The sole tip that I have is keep applying. So stay active, keep searching for openings that are coming up and keep applying. So, and also, like building a good network is very important. So if you have like your seniors, get in touch with them, ask them how things are going at their place. Join your clubs and societies because your seniors will really, really help you there. And things like that. Your network helps you when times are tough, and so there's that. That was a big help for me also. And apart from that, yeah, just keep applying. You'll And the only other thing is that you need to be ready so that when you get to the point where you have to give an interview, you don't fail there. So getting to that point, you'll require like luck. If your luck doesn't work, you won't get there. But like, if your luck has worked and you're being asked questions, and if you answer them correctly, you'll get a job. And you don't answer them correctly at that point. That's where the problem would arise.
Right. So basically, everyone has to keep applying and they just have to be
Correct.
ready. Right. I'm done with the questions from my end. If there are any other questions, we'll entertain them and then we can end the session.
Great.
So there's one more question that he hasn't posted anything on LinkedIn from last 3-4 months, and now he's confused. How can he restart and activate his LinkedIn?
Um, I didn't post on LinkedIn ever since the last 1.5 years, so I think you're good. Don't worry about that. What is important, on the other hand, is using LinkedIn and seeing what other people are posting, talking to them about what they're posting, looking for job opportunities and things like that. Even if you're not someone who posts very frequently, that should not be a very big problem.
Okay. And is there something you have learned, something new or something different about the corporate world that other engineering students must know or don't know?
Yeah, I mean, it's the fact that things are built very slowly, and that might come to you as a shock. So, if you have built projects in college, in your clubs or societies or at college level for a hackathon, you have built them in a week or like built them overnight. Like entire application, front end, back end, everything, the system is up and deployed in like 1 week, 2 weeks, right? So that's not how things are built in like corporates. One small feature addition takes weeks and weeks to get to the final page. And the fact that it needs to be very, very perfect is what is important. And you're not the only one who's building that feature. Like a huge team will be working on a single feature, and everyone will play a small part in building it. And then it will go to a series of tests and verifications before it actually goes up live. So change will be very slow. So that is something you should be ready, and like that should be in your brains, because if you're expecting that, you'll go there and like build stuff overnight, and like in your 2 month internship you'll build like a solid project, and like a new feature on linkedin.com will pop up. That might disappoint you a bit. So you should be prepared for that.
Correct. So, is there any questions from your side, Shreya?
No, I'm done for the day.
So, should we wrap up this session?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so here the session comes to an end. We personally have enjoyed it a lot, and I hope Ganjeev, you too have enjoyed it.
I did. Thank you.
Okay.
It was a wonderful session. We've definitely learned a
Yes,
lot from you.
absolutely. So it was an absolutely valuable session, and a lot of students would greatly benefit from it. So, and we, on behalf of Unsaid Talks, wish you, Ganjeev, all the best for your internship and placement, as well as for your opportunities coming ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All the
Thank
best.
you.